Chapter 13 is all about volume, and we start with section 13.1, volume of prisms and cylinders. Make sure you take this down into your notes. Your table of contents will add 13.1. So the volume of a prism. The volume of a prism we represent with this formula, V equals big B times little h. Now, big V, of course, is the volume of the prism. B, the big B, refers to the area of one base, and little h is the height of the prism. Remember, heights of prisms, it's the distance between the two bases. So let's try an example. Here we have a right triangular prism. We have the two bases, and so the area of one base would be 1/2 b times h. Remember, different b, different h. This is b and h of a triangle. So 1/2 times 12 times 5, which is 30. The height, remember the height of a prism is the distance between the two bases. And so therefore the volume of this right triangular prism is area of the base, which is 30, times height of the prism, which is 7. So we have a total of 210 cubic units. Now make note, when we're dealing with volume, we're dealing with cubic units of measure, not square, but cubic. So following the same pattern, the volume of a cylinder is still area of the base times the height of the prism. Just remember, the area of the base is the area of one circle. So pi times r squared, or in this case, 9 pi square units. The height we see is 5 units tall, and so the volume would be the area of the base times the height of the prism, the height of the cylinder, so 45 pi cubic units would be an exact answer. Here's another example. Find the volume of this square prism. Well, we know volume is area of the base times the height of the prism. Since the base is one square with side length 5, that would be 5 times 5 times 12. So that gives us a volume of 300 cubic units. Next, find the exact volume of this right triangular prism. Note the word exact. That indicates that we might have a square root or a pi. In this case, we'll deal with some square roots. We know we're looking at volume equals area of the base times the height. Remember, area of the base is the area of one triangle. The height is the height of the prism. In this case, it's the distance between the two triangles, so height is 7. So take a look. We have this triangle as its base. It has a 90-degree angle and a 30-degree angle, and so we have a 30, 60, 90. We're given that the short leg is 4, which means the hypotenuse is 8, and the long leg is 4 square roots of 3. And so the area of one base will be 1/2 base times height, so half times 4 root 3 times 4, and that simplifies to 8 square roots of 3 square units. So that's the area of one of those blue triangles. To take the volume of the prism, we then find base, area of the base, times the height of the prism. So 8 root 3 times 7, which simplifies to 56 root 3 cubic units. This shape should look familiar to you. We want to find now the volume of a rectangular prism with a cylindrical hole drilled into it. Now when dealing with volume, we can just take original volume and subtract out that hole that we're drilling in. So the volume of the prism minus the volume of the cylinder is the area of the base of the prism times height minus pi r squared times h. And so that simplifies to 6 times 5 times 4 minus pi times 2 squared times 4. And so an exact answer would be 120 minus 16 pi, approximately 69.7 cubic meters. And now one last example. Here we're dealing with the volume of a cylinder. We know the height, and we want to find the radius. So first, let's talk about this formula we're using. So the volume of a cylinder is pi r squared times h. We know the volume is 126.7 and the height is 10. And so we need to solve for r. First, I'll divide both sides of the equation by 10. Next, I'll divide both sides of the equation by pi. And so that gets me r squared is about 4.033. When you take the square root of both sides of the equation, we get a radius of about 2 inches.